After spending more than a decade behind bars in one of the most infamous sections of the prison, it's finally your day to be free. You walk down a long hallway and you prepare for your final meal. It's your final meal that you'll ever have within the walls of the prison. Then you walk down another long hallway to your final room. This is your final checkpoint before you are released. You go through your final checks, you get your paper, your final release paper all set up, and when you're ready to leave. You lay down, strapped to a gurney. This is for safety reasons. They want to do your final examination because every prisoner is examined before they leave the prison. So, you get on the gurney, a non-medical staffer comes over and puts a needle in your vein. If he can find the vein. He isn't medically certified, and he is the one doing it. So the first shot that goes into your vein is a relaxation shot. It's going to come in and it's going to put you to sleep, kind of take you unconscious so you don't feel anything. The second pin is a muscle relaxation pin. It's going to paralyze all your muscles and collapse your lungs. It's going to stop your breathing. The third one is going to be put into your system, and that's going to stop your heart. Like, completely stop it. During all of this, you have a room right next door between glass that has a bunch of witnesses, typically victims, other stuff like that. They are watching this happen. After that final shot is put into your system, you are put into a medical doctor comes over and checks for a pulse. After he finds no pulse, he pronounces you dead. Remember that release paper we were just talking about? That was your death certificate. It was signed at 11/11. So today we're going to talk about the death penalty. In the state of today's political atmosphere, we see that there's a lot of debate between if the death penalty should be allowed or if it shouldn't be allowed. So my credibility for this is I've spent a lot of time looking at the death penalty, and I've seen a lot of different ideas and what people want to do and how people should treat it. So I feel more credible because I have spent the time and looked at it. So I feel like I know more than the average person. So today we're going to look at three sides to the death penalty. We're going to look at people that are opposed to for the death penalty. Then we're going to look at people that are opposed to the death penalty, and then a small minority that wants to see death penalty reformed. All right. So it was pulled by the Lake, what was it called? The Lake Project's Lake Research Partners, and their They're a polling company in the United States, and they surveyed Americans and found that only 33% of Americans support the death penalty, which is very small compared to what you would think it would be, around 50%, but it's only 33% of people that support it. That was as of 2010 when they did the research, so that could change by now. It could be higher, it could be lower, depending on the times. Most people think that the death penalty is as a form of being used to use closure for the victim of the crime. So when we were talking about that witness room, you saw that there was people in there, and you can see people that are in there. And people think that using the death penalty is a form for closure for the victim's family, that if the victim was murdered or other crimes that could have happened, they use it as a way of closure. Other people support the death penalty because of areas where they think, well, it will stop the crime. It will stop the crime from happening. It won't happen anymore. It's something that you don't have to worry about. So they use it as that sense. There also is support within the prison walls. They use it, and that would come, the leading supporter would be known as Scott Dozier. Scott Dozier, he's in Nevada. He was convicted of a crime of murder of Jeremiah Miller. He murdered him in Nevada in 2002. He also dismembered the body. And if you don't know what dismembered is, it means basically cutting body parts off. So like chopping an arm off or chopping a leg off. So he murdered Jeremiah Miller and dismembered him. He was sentenced to death in 2007. And in 2016, not even a decade after he was sentenced to death, he forego all of his rights to appeal. Which, in a sense, in the death penalty standards, you have a limited amount of appeals. He figured, I don't want to be in prison anymore, I'd rather just die. So he actually forego all of his rights and was fighting to be put to death. In 2017, he also was fighting for the state of Nevada to use fentanyl to kill him, the opioid that has been killing a lot of people across the nation. He was fighting for them to use that as the final lethal injection drug to put him to death. Nevada kept continuously fighting. They actually ended up giving him an execution date, but later on it was changed and people went, and as he exhausted his appeals, he was thrown into another appeals forced by the state, and they delayed his execution. He had an execution date, and they moved it. So one of his quotes was saying, he had an interview with Vice News. One of the quotes he said is, he said, he loved, and this is a paraphrase, he loved the idea that Nevada was willing to use fentanyl. Even though it didn't end up coming to fruition, he was willing to use it, and he was excited. He was quoted saying, shoot me up with that shit. That's what he said. He said, and he's a very charming person when you watch it. It's basically like a psychopath or sociopath, is how you would describe him, but he was willing to die just to get out of prison. He didn't want to be stuck in prison anymore. And he ended up committing suicide on January 5th, 2019. So he ended up committing suicide by hanging in his own cell, just because of the fact that the state of Nevada wouldn't do it, so he took matters into his own hands. He also said he was never a suicidal person, even though obviously this kind of combats that, but he said he was never suicidal. He just never wanted to be in prison for that long. He never wanted to be stuck in prison, so he used that as a sense to get out and just put himself to death, because he knew that was what was coming eventually, no matter what. So going from the people that are for the death penalty, we're going to take a look at the other side, and those are the people that are opposed. Over the course of the death penalty, it's been reinstituted in 1976, there have been 276 botched executions. A botched execution would involve details of being like missing the vein. So like I said earlier, it's a non-medical person who is doing the execution. The executioner is a non-medical person. Because of the moral code of doctors, they are not able to do it. So because of that, they have to go and do this on their own, and they might miss a vein. This can cause botched execution, most likely, and lethal injection. I have a chart, it's kind of hard to see, so I'll kind of read it off really quick. Over the course, there's been 276. Hanging has had 85 botched execution. Electrocution has had 84. Lethal gas has had 32. And lethal injection has had 75. The only one without a botched execution is firearm squad, which you can see why. So, another thing they go against is saying that there is the Fourth Amendment, the cruel and unusual punishment. So they don't want to use that as a sense of putting somebody to death and putting them through pain is something that people don't want. So they use it as a sense of being like, well, if they botch the execution, that's painful, that's cruel, that's unusual. That's against the Fourth Amendment. So they use it as a Fourth Amendment right. So another fact of the matter is that the cost of a death penalty trial is 3 times more than the cost of a non-death penalty trial. It's very situated on how much money they have to spend because of the appeals process, because of everything, and servicing the person in prison. They have to be kept alive in a fair trial or in a fair prison, even though they're going to be put to death. So that makes the cost 3 times more than anything. There are now 2,738 people still on death row. That's going to change over time over the next 4 years because of California. California just recently, actually on March 13th, the governor used an executive order to put on hold all the death penalty trial, all the people on death row, which is 737. So they used that as a chance to put them on. They're basically, right now, they're on probation. They are on a life sentence without parole. So with that being said, they're actually going to put it on the ballot for 2020, and California voters will vote on that to see if they will get rid of the death penalty or allow it. And the previous 2 chances they had, it actually got denied, and they kept the death penalty. So the governor put it into his own hands to stop all the deaths. This is because 1 out of every 25 people on death row is actually innocent. Statistically, they are innocent. So in the case of California, they would be putting 30 people to death out of the 737 people that would actually be considered innocent. That number can fluctuate going up or down. So, there's also a third side of it. I'm going to go through this one, kind of try and go through it quick. There's a third side of it. They're a very small minority, and they want to see death sentence reform. They want only allow certain crimes, so they won't want to use like multiple murders. They would want to use any sex crimes against children. They want those people automatically put to death. The reason they do that is they don't want that to be the only sentence. They don't want death to be the only sentence. They want it to be where they, if they are convicted and guilty, then they go to a punishment trial where they use it as, are you going to be put to death or not? The next thing they want to do is they want to change the process for appeals. So for the process for appeals, they're going to try and change it so that instead of fighting for your life, you're fighting to be put to death. So it would kind of reverse it, kind of go in the Scott Dozier way, but what it would do is they put people who are appealing, they would change it and be all about wanting to be put to death, so they'd be appealing to stay on death row. If they lose that appeal, or if they win that appeal, they would be taken off. If they win it, or lose it, they'd stay on death row in an obvious case. So, with that being said, today we went over some of the things about the death penalty, including people that are for it, also the people that oppose it, and a third party that wants to see death reform. With that, I want to leave you guys with the fact that the death penalty is something that we all have and we all have to deal with. So even with change coming, we have to accept that and know what we can do better to change it and how we can make it better for the society. So we're going to go into some questions.
If I could ask you to stick with one question on this one.
One question? Okay, let me pick a good one. Alright. There are many similar crimes in different states, but they don't have the sentence. So should the death penalty be required in every state, or should states have the choice they do not? So in that case, it's saying the states actually do have the choice right now. This question is asking, should the death penalty be legal in every state with death reform and changing the crimes, or should every state still have that choice?
I think that it should be up to every state, because if you don't want to live in a place where the death penalty is present, you don't have to right now, you can move to a different state. But if it's for the whole country, then you have to live the place with that.
I agree with that.
Any other questions? Again, my apologies for not knowing how to work my keynote. But
I'll work on it.
thank you.